Oops. Here we go. Welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Long podcast, episode number 78 with the Queen of Crew, Lorrie Williams. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you're not a member of our private Facebook group, you should be because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. My name is Wilson Horrell. I'm one of your co-hosts, and I am sitting next to my other co-host and fantastically attractive and intelligent and loving, precious, dear, and wonderful wife, Amanda Kimsey Horrell, Dr. Jackton Tan.
Hello.
Jackton.
How are you, my lady?
I'm tired.
You should be tired.
Tired. It's been a long day.
It's been a long week for you.
Mm-hmm. It has.
Yeah, a lot of CrossFit coaching, a lot of kid raising, a lot of working from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. That's a long day.
Yeah. That was some long days.
And then you get up at like 3 a.m. to go to
the gym and coach.
A class that starts at 5 a.m. because you got to be showered and prepared. She's on it. She's on top of things. But we got Christmas.
Yes.
And it's going to be the best one ever.
Yeah, it's going to rock.
Do you know how much it's going to rock?
Like, it's going to rock your socks off.
It's going to rock your socks off. It's going to rock your socks off. We're going to go to Chattanooga to be with her family. Listen, Lorrie, her mom puts beef jerky and various kinds of potato chips under my bed, like
under his pillow.
Like a high cholesterol delivering tooth fairy.
And I'll get like one small wrapped truffle, and he's got like a buffet under his pillow, and I'm like, okay.
It's so great. I mean, I'll come back 20 pounds
for those midnight
heavier.
snacks when you're just feeling it when you're asleep and going, I really need some beef jerky.
When I get tired of it's for when I get tired of fudge and meatloaf.
Yeah.
Then I have beef jerky and Taki chips or whatever those things
Taki chips.
I'm super excited because I managed to get the entire car packed with all the kids' gifts without them having a clue that their gifts are in the car.
That's badass.
Like it's already packed now?
Yes.
When are you leaving? Tomorrow?
Tonight after this podcast.
Oh, you're all leaving tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
I brought them caffeine.
Lorrie brought
Oh,
us
there you
coffee.
go.
I don't
Yes,
drink coffee.
She is
Okay.
But I did tonight, so there's no telling
Well, you
how
got
this
that
is going to go.
5-hour energy thing going on.
That's right. And I've already had my max of 5-hour energy, plus throw in some coffee. There's just no telling where this thing can go.
Oh, man. You're going to drive straight through 90 to nothing.
No, I'll make it through the podcast, and then I'll fall asleep, and Amanda will have to drive.
That's what I do. Like when we go to Disney World, I'll say, Holly, I'll drive. We're gonna leave at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And we'll like pile into the car at 4 o'clock in the morning and take off, and like no lie, an hour later I'm like, as soon as the sun comes up, I'm like, I'm kind of tired. Do you feel like driving? And she'll have to drive the whole rest of the way.
I don't do nighttime. I mean, it's an hour from my bedtime.
Nighttime would be hard to drive
I like
overnight.
nighttime.
But I'm pretty jacked. I'm pretty excited about this whole thing, about getting going the night
Chattanooga's
before.
beautiful,
that's
so you're going
really
to have
cool.
a great
Yeah,
time.
that's
I
really
love it.
cool. Y'all going to do any running while you're there?
I don't think so. We're
We're
going to
doing
do
some
CrossFit.
CrossFit.
Are you? Where at?
Yeah, Hickson CrossFit.
Okay.
Her brother started CrossFit.
Yeah.
Nice. That's right. I forgot about
He?
that.
He did. I'm
That's
super
cool.
excited. And we're going to be partners on Saturday, and I'm so
Oh,
excited.
that's awesome. I hope it's a 12 Days of Christmas workout.
It's not.
Oh, well.
It's not. But it'll be fun.
Yep. So we'll stay busy. Got to do something to work off that Butterfinger fudge. So next to My wife is Lorrie Williams.
Hello.
Everybody that listens to the podcast is probably familiar with Brian Williams, the ultra trail runner, and the man who is putting on the Walking Tall 50K next
That's
October.
Big pond.
Big Hill Pond.
Big Hill Pond.
State Park.
Walking
Yes.
Tall 25 and
50K.
And it's going to be huge.
We hope so.
I saw their preview pictures. They look pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so we have Lorrie here is going to have an interesting perspective because she is known as the Queen of Crew. She
Yes.
crews people at the ultra races and crews whoever gets within about 15 feet of her is her property.
I have
Yeah,
no
yeah.
problems making myself at home in somebody else's home.
Do you have to know the person, or do you
No.
just seek out people struggling and you handle it?
Yeah, it's kind of like with a triage.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it.
It is.
As I stumble into the aid station, you go for the grayest person. And
I
say,
experienced
"Okay,
that.
Yeah, you need help.
And I mean, I got to tell you, it's an amazing experience. I was
Yeah.
like, this woman is awesome.
Thank
Like
you.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are.
I
but
really like. I mean, I figured out who you were, but I was so loopy. I was like, I don't know. Yeah, put your hands on my hip and it hurts. And she's like, swing it that way and stand this way. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay. And she's like, does it hurt when I touch you here? Like,
yes.
yeah, it kind of hurts. Well, do this. I'm like, okay. And I was like, oh, that's Brian Williams. Why?
We've got all kinds of stories like that we'll
Yep.
be talking about here shortly. Let's talk about the Lift Heavy Run Long app and member site that's coming down the pipes. We got
It's
the app
super
up and running.
cool, man. I wish Valerie was here with us to talk about it, but I've been following Brian Swanson and Sean Hilston on the app because I put myself as their little coach because they're doing the deadlift program.
Oh,
And,
cool.
Yeah, Sean hit a 385 PR today, and
Which is
Oh,
50
okay.
pounds heavier than he was, or 40 pounds heavier than he was
before
2.5
he
months
started.
ago.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice job, Sean.
And I still feel like he could have hit. He tried to pull 400 and missed. He tried to pull 405, then missed, and then tried to pull 4 and missed. But I feel like I've been trying to get him to come to the gym and do it where we could go together, where like I could be yelling at you while you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like 'cause I'm sure he was in like
you.
a regular old gym and like no friends around, just kind of like whatever. But like Amanda knows, like if you're there, well, you know too. But she was doing deadlift when she did that 315,
yeah.
and you got somebody screaming in
Yeah,
your
you got
face.
people
It's a
screaming.
big difference, and the music's loud, and you're all pumped up, and yeah,
And I'd be screaming back in your face. "Shut up!"
yeah. So anyway, no doubt he can pull 400, but hell yeah, he got a 50-pound PR.
I feel like I have just skipped right over you and didn't even give you the proper introduction that you deserve.
That doesn't bother
But I
me.
also feel like everybody knows who you are at this point because of your recent 100-mile finish. And
The hundo?
Your
The hundy?
your rise to notoriety.
The hundero?
The Reverend Vaughn Rawls.
Yeah, man. Hey.
You doing okay?
Man, I'm doing great. I've been in the gym. I was in the gym today and trained this morning and yesterday. That makes 2 days in a row.
Oh, yeah. I saw you this morning.
Yeah. I just was,
It's been a long day.
I'm feeling really good. I kind of had a funk where like, I'm going to talk about this on Vaughn's vlog very
Good.
soon.
Yep.
But I kind of in a funk where like we talked about this before the 100, where I was like, everybody does it. I think where you run a long race and then the week after you're like, I'm not doing anything. And I know Wilson does it too, where it's like it could be like a couple weeks where you're like, yeah,
It usually
I ran
is.
50 miles or maybe even a month. Well, I ran 50 miles. Like this has been like super like on like a whole other level. Like I'm like, still hurt. Like things are hurting. Things were hurting, and like I think I tried to go back too soon to the gym and work out, and like run and too soon, and I didn't give myself any space. I wanted to be back as soon as possible. And then it kind of led to like, oh, well, this thing hurts and that thing hurts, and I feel like crap, and like,
I don't know. You did 100 miles. The
I know.
recovery on that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
extremely long.
Right,
Most
right.
people don't even take that into
right,
consideration.
and
It's all the work up to it.
And
so
it's subtle. It's such a slow dip that you kind of just convince yourself that that's how you feel. So you're just kind of tired.
yeah, but then
And when you
but
are.
what happens is like former fat guys like us are like, yeah, so I'll just order the pizza again today for lunch, because
Because I'm in calorie deficit from like 4 weeks ago.
Well, it's like, well, my
Wilson's like, hallelujah.
my Achilles is kind of
Wilson's going to start moving in with you now. I'm going to have to pull him away from your house while y'all eating pizza.
Dude, I bet I've gained 30 pounds in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes a difference. You get into this space where you're like, well, I can't I need to stop training because my ankle hurts. Like, you do need to take a break.
Yeah.
But then you're on the break and you're like, well, I'm not trying. May as well just, everything else can just fly out the window, which it really shouldn't.
I need
It's
to
a
feed my
different
ankle.
sort of training.
If I have a bad ankle, it needs
It needs sugar.
Yeah, I told Brian I went to the gym Monday or Tuesday, and Brian was coaching, Brian Swanson, and he goes, and I'm not pulling any heavy weight or anything. I'm keeping everything light still, really, relatively light. And he's like, "Are you? Do you need to put some more weight on there?" I was like, "I need a psychiatrist. That's what I need." he's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, I don't even worry. Like, I need somebody to like get me back into my headspace.
I need my groove back.
But the last 2 days,
now
man,
you're coming into my territory.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah.
help you there. I got referrals.
I can see Brian's face right now when you said that. Like,
I was like, what? I was
Huh?
like, it doesn't matter. But
like
now,
texting
like
Carol, like, ooh.
the last 2 days have been really good, man, and I feel really good. So I think taking a bigger break was the thing. So.
Are you doing Wichita? Is that how you pronounce it?
Wichita.
Wichita.
I
Yeah,
am
I love
gonna go
that
do.
break.
But you've come along better. It's better
Better
than
than
Auschwitz,
Al-Qaeda.
is what you were calling it, or Al-Qaeda.
Auschwitz and Al-Qaeda.
Wichita.
I'm up to-
Wichita.
So,
Wakita.
And I'm excited that you guys are going because y'all are going to love it.
Yeah,
Because
you really are.
It
I
is
heard it's
amazing.
beautiful.
It is.
April Hilston was like allowing us to do that instead of the Ragnar Trail because she said it was so pretty.
It's
Good.
beautiful, and when you're on one side, it's like you're running on boulders. It's gorgeous.
It is gorgeous.
Are you going to help us out there too?
She
I
might
don't
just
know.
pop
I don't
up.
know if we're running that one. I don't keep up with our race schedule. That's Brian's deal.
I've never had the opportunity to be crewed by Lori because I'm not fast enough. She has to be at certain points. So by the time I get there, everybody's already gone. All the news crew has gone home and they're packing up the tents. So
Yeah.
let's see what else we got.
You got a review there to read?
I got 2 of them.
Dang.
See my fingers? 2 of them.
Oh, before we even start the reviews, we need to clarify we gave David Lomax a very hard time about not leaving a review.
How funny
Ah.
was
I've got that written down
Okay.
in my notes.
Gotcha.
But I probably would have missed it, so I'm glad you pointed
Sorry.
it out.
that? Now we
Yep.
knocked it out.
I apologize, Lomax. I gave him a bunch of crap about not leaving us a review. And then we were trying to figure out who left the review that was Joey from Friends.
Joey
Yeah.
Tribbiani.
Joe
Joe E.
Tribbiani. And it
Tribbiani.
was actually Lomax,
Signed in as
Joey Tribbiani.
gotcha.
And we made the friend joke simultaneously making fun of David Lomax,
Hey.
which it turned out to be him.
Turned out to be him.
And that's pretty good.
All right, here we go. 5-star review. Awesome Sauce by F5 Runner. Found LHRL via Facebook and then found the podcast. Love your podcast. Great mix of folks and topics. Thanks for keeping it fun and inspirational. P.S. Treadmill 100 rocked. You must
Oh,
be talking about
yeah.
keeping up with Elijah on his quest for...
I was
Yeah.
wondering
I'm-
about that because I saw it early, spoilered myself, and read the
You
review.
can't be doing that.
So I thought,
Aw.
started thinking about it. I was like,
Live updates.
my first thought was, is this Elijah? But then I was like, no, because I think he's probably already done a review. And so I didn't know if the guy was talking about the whole treadmill 100 post, or was he talking about? Did he go do the? Did he do the treadmill 100? Is there still a guy out there that's done the 100 miles on a treadmill, which it seems absolutely insane.
If you told me that one person out of anybody that I've met through LHRL was going to get on a treadmill and attempt to run 100 miles, I would say you're talking about Elijah.
Yeah.
And it was. And speaking of Elijah, our second review comes from.
Oh, that's funny.
You need to listen to this podcast. 5-star review by Hazard.
Ah,
Okay.
there you go.
Hazard.
Elijah Hazard. It's always great. I can't see. I can't see. I've got to move closer in
need
order
glasses.
to.
That's because you're old.
They recommended that you get reading glasses.
Well, did Valerie not leave a review? Did she or did she not text us and say I left a review?
I don't think so.
She said I left a 5-star review.
She did?
Yeah.
I don't think I saw
In
that.
one of our conversations. And I was like, there is no way that she managed to make that happen. And then I went and looked and I saw F5 runners thing, and I never saw hers.
I haven't figured out how to do the review yet.
So don't ask her about it. Let's see if she listens to this.
Yeah. Put her in a trick bag.
Yeah. Put her right in the trick bag.
Well, it takes a couple
Y'all are
days to
evil.
go through. I keep
Does it?
saying that, and nobody wants
And
to
you
believe
don't
me.
see it for okay.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can see that. There's probably some sort of system it has to go through
Filter.
in case you say something dirty or whatever.
Right. All right. This is Elijah. It's always a great podcast when not only do you learn something, but it makes you laugh as well. Always excited to see who they'll have on and what their topic is. LHRL is what got me started in ultra running and interested in pushing my limits and strength. I highly recommend this podcast.
Sweet.
So if we got Elijah giving us 5-star reviews, for God's sakes, everybody out there should
That's
be
right.
able to figure
Everyone.
What to say about Elijah?
I mean, the guy didn't get his driver's license till like 6 months ago. All he does is the guy deadlifts 500 pounds at a Planet Fitness. He runs to and from work like 5 miles every day.
Yeah, we had him on the podcast. It was like 9 o'clock in the morning. He had a giant beer in his hand.
What?
And he said time is but an illusion.
I didn't see this
The
one.
guy
I
eats-
missed
Time is
this.
but
You
a-
got to go
illusion.
back and watch it.
The
That was
guy
really good.
either lives off wild living animals and eats fur and everything, or he just eats the bark off of trees and hostas.
Well, that depends on
He's
what he
either
flosses with.
hardcore like protein diet and he gets all bulked up for these weightlifting gigs, or he's like, hey, I feel like going and running 100 miles, so I'm going to cut 60 pounds this month. And
Yeah.
He recently
sounds
had
like
a
Brian.
son, and they named him Odin.
is that the name?
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Dude's tough, man. I'm glad he's on my side.
I only did our dog, and that was Thor. So,
Right.
I mean, that's as brave as I got.
So I have on here in my notes to guilt listeners into writing a review.
Do it.
So I don't know how to. I'm trying to do that now, but it's not working well enough. I think that you need to give a webinar.
We need like a competition
Ooh.
on who can write the best,
Ooh.
the best one.
the competition should be who can figure out how to write one.
I
We'll take
lose.
the top 3.
Who can write the most entertaining review?
You should do
on
it
the
the way that you have to do me to show me how to do things on the
Oh,
internet.
that would be hilarious.
You
if
should
did that.
show people like, here's where you go.
I'm totally
Here's how
going
you
to
do
that.
it. Do
Yeah.
that. I'm serious.
I am going to do that.
Okay.
What, a step-by-step on
Yeah.
how to leave a review?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Poor Vaughn and all his IT
you.
stuff and what he has to put up with. He let me design some play with some stuff on making the members only thing of the website. Were you about to say something?
I just had a thought. I figure I'll lose it if I don't say it right now.
Go ahead.
That.
What if he does like a quick link where it takes you right to where you need to go to leave it? Or can you do
we'll
that?
do all of that.
Okay.
And I'm about to give you something, and you're going to love this.
Oh, no.
I have these cards, and it says on there, because I said I
Oh.
would, and I wrote webinar on there, and I'm going to give it to you, and when I do
Oh.
it, you give it back to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you come up with this idea? This is brilliant.
I found it on the internet. It's called Because I Said I Would. And
Are you not concerned I'm going to show up at your doorstep at like 3 a.m. and be like, you gave me
You
the
can't do
gosh-"
that. You can't do that. You have to just
It's
hang
during
on to it, and when I
normal
do
business
that-
hours.
when I do the webinar, you give that back to me.
So it's
Okay.
an IOU.
Right.
Can I get an
You don't.
unlimited amount?
I don't
of these
think you get to
things?
like cash it in or anything.
Get your pen
There
out.
should be.
It's a way of me knowing I only have 2 of those in my wallet. Now I only have 1.
Does me copy and pasting the same text over and over, is that not sufficient?
No, but I thought this is a really cool thing where you go on because I think you can Google because I said I would, and they'll send you a free pack of cards. You give them
Okay.
you give them your name, email address, and address, and they just mail you these cards, and it's a whole movement. And you stick them in your wallet. And when you tell somebody you're going to do something, you write it on there, give it to them.
Well, how do you remember what you wrote down?
I don't give out many of these cards.
I guess
I
that's
only
for
have
you to
I only
take
have a
care of.
stack of like 20 of them,
Man.
so I gave it.
Don't tell Brian about
I've only got
these,
2 of.
because
Like I
he'll
said,
be like,
my system for me, I only have 2 of them in my wallet. So now I know I gave it to him. So I'm going to do that thing because that was a good idea.
What I do, instead of during the time that it would take me to get a card and write it down, I do that thing.
yeah, that's. I mean,
Because
when you were like, send
I
a
said
bio,
I would.
I was like, I better do it now,
Which was
or
awesome.
I won't ever remember it.
You don't even know how much I love you because of that. I love that.
3 days later, I'd be like, what bio?
And I would be like, come on. Like, what the? I've got a time frame that I like to do things. And when people are like, oh, you write it for me. You just come up with something. I'm like, I don't want to come up with something. I don't want to research your life.
You're not that interesting to me.
So you've done great. Vaughn, so we're trying to get the LHRL membership on the website. So we're going to have exclusive stuff for the members and a lot of content. We're going to keep it really cheap, like $4 a month, just to support the podcast and try to
Sweet.
keep us alive. So designing all this is a lot of effort. And Vaughn knows how to do all that stuff. I don't, but he's got a job which keeps him occupied, and I obsess over getting these kinds of things done.
Mm-hmm.
So I was given the license to sort of design the stuff. And so
Okay.
I'm at a stage where I think that, like, what's it called? Bevel and emboss and things that
Drop shadow.
drop shadows.
Oh, okay. You're
and
talking about
the-
video editing.
the
and stuff
fact
like
that the fact that like it can make pictures like go boing, 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 and animate.
Oh,
That
no.
Devon is like, this stuff's been around forever, and
you're like, oh
only
my
a
gosh, this
complete
is
goober
incredible.
would use it, and I'm like, yeah, look at all these colors, and then it's got to go back to him, and he's like, oh my god, this is terrible. It's terrible. It's terribly cheesy.
It's
Were you
just
one
a
of those
checklist,
students
though.
that on PowerPoint all your slides moved, all
Yes.
your words
Oh yes.
bounced
Yes.
off?
Yes. Yes. And still am. Still messing with Final Cut Pro editing. It's all I can do not to make everything flash.
So you're trying to make an hallucinogenic out of your
That's correct. Yeah.
podcast.
If it comes equipped to do it, I think that it should.
Okay.
Like just bam, 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 bam. And when I look at it, I think that's awesome. And when everybody else looks at it, it's like, that's so cheesy. That's so tacky. I've got this tachometer that's way, 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 way up high.
Nah.
And, Vaughn's like totally chill, like the anti all of that. And so I'm like, look what I did. Like, look at this. And he's like, can you mind if I get rid of everything you just did?
Minimalist, maximalist. There's a balance.
That's hilarious.
I think the text basically said, so the way that I see it is I'm just going to get rid of all that. And we'll be back at square one.
But really,
I'm like, that's great, man. I
but
just wanted you to see it.
What I did
Nice.
was I thought about it for a long time, and I said, okay, maybe I could just get him to get rid of the bevel. And if we could do that, that would be awesome. Because the whole thing is like, I can't say, can I, if I don't have time to do it, he spent all that time doing it. Like, I can't go, well, do you
hate it.
mind if I change some?
Yeah.
Well, if I don't have time to do it, we're going to roll with it because he did a good job. You know what I mean? But if it doesn't.
But it's quick for you to go back in there. I mean, it's quick for you to go back in there and fix all that crap, right?
No.
Relatively quick.
Okay.
You know. In this particular instance, yeah, I spend a few hours.
Well, either way, you do you do a
exactly,
great job
yeah.
of letting me play with something that I enjoy learning. Because to me, it's all new.
Yeah,
So it's fun
yeah.
for me to do it, and it would be real easy for you to say, you know what? Just keep your hands off. Just don't touch my stuff. That's my area. Every time you do something, I get these errors and things start flashing
You should take
green.
some classes on that.
You should. Well, so here's a quick story. I don't want to step all over your podcast, but I had a designer that I used to work with when I was like the IT manager. And I remember I made something. I made this logo or something for something I was doing, and I was so proud of it. And I was like, I showed it to this designer guy. I was like, "Look, I made this logo. Are you proud of me?" He's like, "What's with the drop shadow and the bevel? Like, you gotta turn that. Like, it'd look a lot better if you just left that off." They're like, "Oh, okay." But I felt the same way. I was like, "Oh man."
No, I was good. I was going into this. I'm just so happy that you think this is a good idea and you're wanting to do it.
I think playing around with any of those kind of programs that you're interested in learning, go ahead. Don't be afraid to push the buttons on
Oh
it.
yeah, no, you don't want to shoot that down. Like you want to play with it and learn because like there's a place
then
for
you'll
all
get
that
a feel for it later.
Yeah,
Right.
there's a place for all that stuff in a smaller degree where now you know how to do it.
Subtlety.
Yeah.
The place for that just is not on the internet
Like, tone it
or
down,
in
dude.
front of other people.
No. Like, yeah. Okay.
It's awesome. I love it. It's great. Okay, we're not on Facebook Live because Comcast blows so bad.
Comcast. Woo.
I do not like them very much. And so now we're on to Lorrie Williams.
Yay.
I think we've taken up enough time with that. Lorrie, so I got hit by about 6 different stories of your legendary performance at Tunnel Hill. Amanda was like, so I go into this aid station and I'm like dying, and Lorrie like grabs me and she slams me down and she's like, take this, eat this, drink this, snort this, pop this, smoke this.
Definitely
And
snorting.
She's like, taking my clothes off like I'm a child and taking care
I
of my
needed it.
hands and doing all this stuff. And then she gives me this cup of soup, and I drank 2 sips of this wonderful cup of soup, and she
tastes-
knocks it out of my hand and she pushes me. And she said one side of me was like, I can't believe that I'm
my
being treated
soup.
like this. And on the same time, I'm like, that was awesome.
Getting people out of the aid station is a big deal.
You're
You
getting
get
sucked into
in.
the aid
Yeah.
station. Go.
Yeah. And because it's comfortable. They've got a heater. They've got a chair. I don't
soup.
know if that voice in your head that says, I can walk this forever or sit here, that's a voice that's screaming pretty loud at that point.
Well, you also get weird stuff in your head, like looking through your bag, like where.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I need to get this thing out of my bag, or.
And then
you're like.
you can see people's thoughts going, yeah. I just kind of judge whether or not y'all are all in there at that point. And my job as a crew is to kind of go down my own personal checklist of, somebody walking in and saying, okay, so how gray are they? I really do, because when y'all are doing 50 miles, 100-mile races, your body starts doing insane things. And so I don't have any medical training as to why you get more gray, but I'm going to assume that all the blood is in your legs and in your stomach digesting food, and this is all gone up here. So I have a checklist of, have you gotten salt into you? Have you gotten water? Do you have calories in you? I have a mental checklist. I don't ask, are you okay? Because at that point, you're not okay. I mean, there's nothing about a 100-mile race or a 50-mile race that you're okay at any time. You have good moments, and then the rest of it is just kind of dealing with the suck of it.
Yeah, you checked all that with me. You rubbed my knee because some of my knees were hurting. And
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you what I think is so unique about the way that you've put yourself in there is that you've carved out a spot for yourself.
Yeah.
And so you've inserted yourself into the race, and you've made yourself a vital and much appreciated participant.
Well, thank you.
And I think it'd be really easy to be like, oh, I'm going to watch my, husband go run
no.
around on this trail, and it's going to be a long day, and it's a pain in the ass. And instead, you're like, I'm not going to do that.
Well, because I used to run, and I decided that I hated it. I mean, I really
easy to
tried
hate.
for
Amen.
years because Brian took up this ridiculous sport, when Virginia was born. So that was 11 years ago. And so being a good wife, I decided I want to spend time with my husband. And so I started running, and I hated it then, and I kept running. And I've gone up to 64 miles is my longest. But so I have some experience in what happens, but it was never my thing. That voice in my head says you can walk really loudly, and so I do. I just stop. And
When did you decide I'm going to really get involved in the helping of other people at these races?
Brian did his first 50-mile, I think it was in Laurel, Mississippi, and I decided I wanted to be there because it was the longest distance he had run. And I don't know do you all trail run, or does somebody go off and run like a spouse and I don't know, you stay at home? Like, I am the one who stays at home while Brian gets up and trains these ridiculous hours because he wants to be present for his children. So he gets up sometimes 1 a.m. to start his long run, and that could be until 10 a.m. if he has to tack on 30 plus miles, and then he has to stack the next day with a back-to-back. So, we're talking about on a Friday night. He's going out at 1 a.m. to run on the streets or on the trail. I worry because that's what I do. And so when he decided to start the 50-mile runs, I worried then because he was going to be on a trail for 50 miles. So I said, I'm going. And that was that. And then he decided to do 100-mile. And I said, okay, this is ridiculous. People die doing this stuff. So
Do you support that because you see the benefit that it has on Brian?
Well, I mean, this is what he loves. So you don't want to squash any of that. I mean, I love yoga, and he's allowed me to do as much of it as I want. It's what he loves. That's where he gets this peace of mind. There's always something that athletes are searching for, or anybody in general. I think we're all kind of searching for that moment in our heads where all the chatter stops and you can just be whatever it is that goal is that you've got for being in your head. That moment is what we're all looking for. And I can't say, no, you can't do that. That would be ridiculous and not really healthy to a marriage. So
At what point did you decide to go past Brian and help the next guy that came in to the aid station?
I think just being there. I love being at the race. I hate running. I am the running antichrist. So I will gladly walk up the next hill. But I do really love race day. I love the energy.
Do you really?
I love runners. Runners are they are incredible people. They are so kind. They will give you the shirt off their back.
Well, you take the shirt off their back.
Yes, well, I do
Put on a
undress
clean
people
shirt.
on a regular basis. But
You're not giving them any choice in the matter.
Right.
No,
you
I
push
really
them
do.
down and
Yeah.
take their shirt from them
I'm
and
like,
put on a
no,
clean one.
it's about to change 30 degrees. You are getting into a dry shirt. So I love being at a race. And my son runs. Brian runs. Virginia loves to be around. We've been in the racing community since Virginia was born. And I can't think of a better community to raise your children around because they're all adults that respect each other, that they have healthy goals, and they're so encouraging. This is not like a coach yelling at your kids to do better and, compete against each other. Man, all these guys are like, way to go, Adam. Way to go, Virginia. I mean, there's nothing but support.
Listen to how nice this sounds from someone who hates to run.
I hate running.
Well, I mean, but my point is that there's a place for everyone in running.
There really is.
Even if you despise running, there's a place for you there.
Yeah, I have, what is it? Ron White says I have a whole lot of quit in me.
Yeah.
I got that person. But I have it for running, and I don't have the quit in yoga. So we all find our own little thing. That's our niche.
Yeah.
And running is an amazing community. My children just thrive there. And I'd rather them be around people that know each other, come together, will give you a salt tablet, give you food, drinks of water, whatever, clothing, come together to raise money for cancer, whatever kind of cause, because that's what we're there for. So that's what I love. I love race day, hate training.
Have you ever been greeted with anything less than open arms? Someone who's in that gray area, as you call it, that was like, you know what,
no.
just get away from me?
I mean, I'm pretty good at reading if they want you to back off, and they're pretty good at letting you know, no, I'm fine. And I mean, there's no in between when you're at plus 50 miles. People are pretty succinct about hands off, or I don't need anything, but I will go get race bags for people. I'll get water refills, stay in the aid stations. Those are all just important things. Race directors have a million little tiny things going on, and they can't just micromanage these aid stations, and those are really important for runners doing these long distances. And if you're not willing to step in and say, oh, there's a bag of trash or cups all over the ground and I'm not going to pick that up, I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous.
If you've ever been to a bad aid station,
Yeah.
I mean, you know the difference. Like, you can tell when those people really give a crap about what they're doing, or are there because they love being there, or it's just some guy's kid that.
Yeah, some guy's kid, and they want to do the right thing,
yeah.
but they have no idea what to do.
Yeah. I mean, I've had people at Ouachita. One time they took my drop bag, and it was gone. And I was like,
no.
Oh, I don't know what I'm going to. I think it was on my first 50-mile race. And I was like,
no.
oh, my God.
Yeah, because you need that stuff.
Where's my bag? And the lady was like, your bag's not here? Oh, my gosh. He just took and she went and she said, you go run. I'll meet you at the next aid station.
Oh,
with
that's
your bag.
awesome.
She went and got my bag and drove to the next aid station and gave it and had my bag there for me.
See, that's what I mean.
That was like, people like that. That's the person you are.
I think you figure out that I like to take care of people, and that's something that could be taken advantage of in a real life setting. But this has a start and a stop, and so I can take people's socks and shoes off and rub their feet and do things to care for people, which would be normally thought of as extremely weird. But
you can either sit there and wait on Brian to come to you're going to be sitting here either way.
Right.
And
there are long hours of waiting. So I really want to be useful. And when I'm out there.
But it would be real easy to be selfish like I am and think, well, yeah, the guy lost his drop bag and that sucks, but it's just some shoes, and not really put myself in it's shoes and he's 30 miles into a race.
I guess I could be that way if I had not run, but I know what 60 miles feels like, and it's sucks. I mean, and if you don't have your stuff, it you can't function.
Yeah, if you're just a person that's working, I'll volunteer for a race and I'll hand out whatever. You have no idea. Like, I could come in and go, "Where's my bag?" And the guy goes, "I don't know. Did you have a bag?" Well, yeah, I had a bag. Oh, well, I'm sorry. Like, whatever. Like, I don't even know in my head if I've never done this before.
My job is to be your brain.
Right.
Y'all are just in motion, and that's all you have to think about.
Yeah, that was much easier. That was much easier answering yes and no.
Yeah.
To your checklist.
It was not, how do you feel?
Yeah.
It was,
hold
does
up your hands.
this hurt?
Are they swelling?
Yeah, I do that. That's the knuckle check is how I figure out whether or not your joints are swollen, whether or not you need salt, which is really counterintuitive because you would think that swollen joints would mean that you need more water to wash it out, but you need salt. So all of those things I've learned from my own mistakes from running and then my mistakes from crewing. I crewed Brian several times where I've totally messed up. We could say that in a cleaner or not so clean version. So, but I've done a marathon where I hung my jacket up on a tree because I got hot and then it rained and I was out of my mind coming back. And so I put on this wet jacket and it had dropped 20 degrees and I went hypothermic.
Oh.
So, and somebody gave up their race medal to walk me in so that I wouldn't sit down and go to sleep. I mean, that's what crewing is being able to just step away from the race and be what that person needs at that moment. And that's what I like about it.
I never miss an opportunity to announce to the world when I've done anything good with my life. And I usually only go back to one of the few things that I've done, and that was volunteering at an aid station at Swamp Stomper.
Yeah, that's fun.
And I did that with Brian.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had no idea what went into it. To me, it was just going to be a fun day sitting around eating Skittles and M&Ms with Brian sitting on a park bench. To him, it was a
You're
schedule.
in motion.
It was a schedule, and he knew what paces these people were going to be keeping, who was coming around, what they were going to be needing, when it was time to mix up Gatorade. He knew that Olaf was going to go to the outside of the pavilion and not the inside, and when he was going to go outside, he was, only going to want handheld things. And, it's just like you could really – it would be real easy to be like, here's a bowl of crap, whatever you want, just eat it and throw your stuff away.
Yeah, because when I crew, I usually have like main runners. So Brian's usually my priority runner, but like Tunnel Hill, Denari was my priority runner. And then my second priorities were Sherpa, and I can't remember Sherpa's first name, but Sherpa and Brian, because they were pacing Denari. So then that becomes a strange dynamic where you have one really exhausted runner and one really fresh runner, but they're all running marathon plus distances, and they have to stay at the exhausted runner's pace. So you can't even really get up to your own full heat yourself up kind of, I don't know what I'm trying to say, exercise mode where you're in your stride.
Well, that can be hard for somebody like Brian that's a faster runner to have to sit back and stay with somebody that's slower.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to run at a slower pace.
Yeah.
If
I mean, everybody's got that comfort. I feel like everybody's got that comfortable space where I can do this all day long.
Yeah.
Right.
Might be 9 minutes a mile. It might be 8 minutes a mile.
Right.
It might be 13 minutes a mile. But if you get outside of that, it's like
it gets uncomfortable.
Well, I don't want to do this anymore. Like can I just run?
Well, and they get really cold.
Yeah.
We call it ultra season. It's when things start to get cold, and so you go from 57 in the daytime to 45, 30 and below when the sun sets, and you have to start thinking about, okay, they've been sweating in the sun. We got to change them, get them dry shirts, make sure that the other runners are okay, get them in a heat tent, but make sure they don't get too comfortable in the heat tent. Because my end goal isn't just to take care of them. I want to see them get their goal. I want whoever toes that line for the race, that's what I want to see. I want to see the reason why they towed that line completed. That's my goal for every runner out there. I love watching runners complete their goals. Whatever it is that's brought them out there, that's what I want to see. It's just a cool thing.
There must be a feeling of satisfaction or liberation or fulfillment or something that comes with knowing that whatever point in the race you're helping someone, you know that you know better. That whatever they're, while you're running something like that, you're in a present state mindset.
Yeah.
So if you're feeling good, you believe that you're always going to feel good. I'm not going to get cold. I'm not cold now.
Yeah, no.
How can I ever be cold? This is great. Or when you're feeling bad, you think, I feel terrible. I'm always going to feel terrible. I'm done. Just get me out of here. And you having fresh legs and fresh body and sound mind, I
have to either prevent it or change it.
Right.
And that's when you're doing progressive forward motion, relentless forward motion, you have to try and prevent problems before they become problems. So little annoyances I have to make sure aren't present. So I just take my checklist and I make sure that I know what's bothering, like your outer hamstrings. Or not hamstrings, but I guess it was your IT band because it was your hips and your knees that were hurting. So there's you learn a couple of little pressure points to really jam your fist into and rub, and
that's what Amanda referred to as some Mr. Miyagi stuff.
And you gotta really. And then, there's some manhandling involved.
Oh my God, I'm okay.
Yeah, stop touching me. Yeah, no, it's supposed to hurt. And, I have to make sure that you stretch because especially Tunnel Hill is a really, really good course to show you how crazy a run can be. Mentally, you go in, it's flat. It's crushed gravel. It's going to be great. But you're in the same motion.
Same thing.
Same. You don't have any terrain to change it up. And that's what most people as runners really need. So
you think that helps having some of that?
I think so because it uses a little bit different muscles and you kind of give a break to the other ones.
Mentally, too.
Yeah.
About it. Yeah.
You have to think about where you're going to place your foot
it's almost
if you're
like
on a trail.
It's almost like a treadmill. You're on that same movement,
It's a lot better than a treadmill, but
but the scenery is beautiful. If
but
you
the level of
pay attention to
your
the
movement,
scenery.
You're never really going up a hill or going down anything.
It's just the same thing over and over.
Plus, the grade is going downhill, and then when you start getting tired, it's uphill, and it's only a 2% or 3% grade. I can't remember.
Tiny, yeah.
But it's enough.
Yeah.
It's enough to really wear a person out. So I have to make sure that you don't get IT band issues or you don't get that gravel gets into the back of people's shoes. So I have to make sure that their socks and their shoes don't have any little pebbles in them because that kind of stuff can be just an annoyance at the beginning. But it's not when you have a big old bloody blister.
And it can be just small enough of an annoyance, but too big of a pain to where if you had to do it yourself, you think I'll just leave it and I'll be fine. Whereas you're saving someone a lot of trouble.
Yeah, runners will just ignore it and say it's just pain, and pain is part of the run. Crew has to say, "This is pain that I can take away, so you can keep running." So that's what I think my job is.
I had another thought just a second ago that must make you feel special. I don't know if
Oh.
I don't know if you've thought about this or not, but how you're certainly a part of my story. Like I ran 100 miles, and there'll be a time where I'm telling somebody, "Hey, man, about the time I ran my first 100-mile race, and Lorrie helped me do this at mile 90 or whatever it was," and I was like ridiculously stupid. But I know you. But think about all the people that you don't know.
Oh, I'll
like
never see him again.
Some guy that's has gone and ran his first 100-mile or his first marathon 50-miler and has gone out there on his blog and written this thing like, oh my God, it was mile 35 and this lady came out and dressed me. And I would have never been able to go the next 10 miles without this person.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know who you are.
Well, I think it's like how the runners, how they pair up too, and they start talking to each other, and they complete the race because they are able to maintain a conversation. They're just needs that we figure out that you need met. And
well, I think part of what Vaughn is trying to say is don't downplay that. Don't underestimate.
Yeah, because
the
there must be thousands of stories out there
have.
of somebody you handed a cup of soup to.
Yeah,
and that thing for that person was like
that got them.
Oh my God!
To you, that was a cup of soup that you were given to someone who was tired. Yeah. For that person, that was like a life that you were breathing into.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and
I'm not saying that everything I do is I saved their race.
I'm saying that a lot of things that you do are more than you'll give yourself.
Right, and it must be like satisfying to some degree to be like to just think like there's a tweet that some guy made when he finished his race. It's like, oh my God, this lady gave me this cup of soup at mile 40, and I would have never made it to 50 without it. I don't even wish I knew who she was.
Well, I have to.
You are a cup of soup crazy.
It's
lady
like the story I just told about the lady who drove and got. I have no idea.
No idea who she is, but you're
is.
totally thankful for them.
Like, if she came in the room right now, I'd be like, oh my God. Yeah.
You saved me.
Yeah.
I had somebody hand me a brownie dipped in salt one time at Sillamore, and it was the best damn brownie of my whole life. I mean, it was coated in salt.
So good.
And then I tasted it when I wasn't running, and it was total trash. I was like, oh my God, how is this delicious? But it was what I needed at the time. It was somebody just recognizing that need. And
the Sillamore 50K, the first time that I ran that was when it snowed
about
3 years ago. And myself and Too Tall and Lomax were all three running together, and we were past cutoff. A lot of people, they had to push it way back because of the snow. But we were coming in at the very end, and the lady there at the last aid station had her walkie-talkie, and Greg is the
Greg
guy's name, and he came on and he said, shut them down. And she looked at us. We're like, we can make it. We can. Or Too Tall saying we can make it. I'm thinking I'm about done. But she waved us on. She said, just go. Just go.
Well.
And had that not have happened,
my
life could be very difficult. My life could be very different than what it is now. Because at the time.
You're like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. And I was at a very, I was at a volatile time in my life, and had that gone a different way, there's no telling what could have happened. I'm not saying that it would, but I'm saying that she forever holds a spot in my heart. It happened to be Greg's mom. So she wasn't taking that big of a risk.
Well, you didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know at the time. Didn't you write her? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She means a lot to me. Not a little bit. She's not like a lady that kind of helped me out. She means a very, very much lot.
She changed your race.
Yes. She changed what I perceive to be my life.
So I just think that each runner out there is out there for some reason. And I think that a lot of runners are highly motivated people that either they train or don't train. I don't care which one they do. But they all have this ambition to do something bigger than themselves, and to have that moment that pushes their limit and beyond. And that's what I want each runner to be able to accomplish. I've done some of that and I hated it, but I've done some yoga, and it was only because somebody said you could do it in the way that spoke to me that I could get it done, because I am the worst person with positive reinforcement. Like if Brian goes, "Oh, you're doing a good job. You're running so fast." I'm like, "Shut up. Don't encourage me." I'm not that person. But most runners need that, and they need somebody to say that or just care. And because they're just bodies in motion. They want something that only moving legs can do, and your brain has to be able to shut off at some point, because otherwise these distances just aren't possible without, your brain shutting off.
I think you're a fine example of injecting purpose into your own life. You're out there to help someone else, but you're also creating purpose for yourself.
I hope
and
so.
I think it's real easy to go to an event like that or an environment like that, whether it be running or anywhere, and just decide to be a spectator or decide to be a part of. And it would be real easy to say, I'm not running, therefore this has nothing to do with me. And you can take that into church or Sunday school. You can take that into whatever instrument you play. You can take that into whatever hobby or whatever arena, and convince yourself that I have a place here. And if I don't have a place here, by God, I'm going to make one.
I'm going to make it, yeah.
And some people do that very naturally and very well.
Well, like I said, I'm really good at making myself at home in somebody else's home. I don't mind finding the napkins myself when they're just still on the ground.
That's a great metaphor. And there's a lot of people who'd be willing to let you into their home for what you've done.
I think most people would be. I think most people are scared to make a mistake. And I don't think that I'm not going to make a mistake. I'm just going to be as helpful as I can be. That's what I like doing. I don't know. I think part of why the race is so important is because of what it stands for. Like I was telling you earlier about walking tall. All of the proceeds are going back to the park. So that's a big deal for us. We really like to champion national parks, state parks. Those places are sacred places for us. We raise our children outside. We are outside. That's what we do. And we want that to continue. And we want people to enjoy that. So if you go out to one of these places, almost all of these ultra runs are for the benefit of the parks, because somebody has found this little treasure of earth and they want to share it with people. That's what these trail runs really are. Somebody decided to be a race director because they loved this area and they want you to see it. So that's why it's important.
And that goes right over my head. Just the conversation that we were having earlier when I was asking about Brian putting on the race and how, excited he was with it. And it just...
He wants you to see it.
It went right over me how much the actual benefit of the race means to you.
100% of all the proceeds are going to Big Hill Pond State Park and the Tennessee Rangers Association. So,
I get caught up in my little box and just believe that, hey, you pay $100, you get a shirt, you run a little race. I don't even think about who goes out there and cleans up all that crap when there's a storm. I don't think about who makes sure that the trails are clean, who makes sure that the Gatorade's out there, that the volunteers are together, and what the purpose of it really is. Whereas listening to you talk about your children having a place to do that, being what your family loves to do more than anything, was really like,
Well, I mean, Brian takes the kids out to Big Hills Pond. I'm going to mess up that name over and over, and I apologize. But Big Hill Pond. He takes them out there when it's springtime, when the moccasins are having babies. And so he's taking the kids on the trails and they're slinging snakes at each other. I am not present because otherwise
Yeah, I don't
I'd
think
be
that's
having
funny.
a panic attack. But, my kids love nature. They're not afraid to hold a snake. They're not afraid to tell you how to tell which one is venomous. I mean, I collect squirrels and
Sally Bigfoot.
Sally Bigfoot. Raccoons. We've done wildlife rehabilitation, so that's kind of a family thing. This is something we'll always do. I hope is be outside, and I think that the state parks are a big part of that. It's small communities that love their area.
We did,
Owen,
I'm sorry. I was
No,
just
go
gonna say
ahead.
we did that 5K out there, and I really loved that run. That trail was beautiful. The area was beautiful. But what stuck out of my mind and what I think about when I'm going to go run that 50K is that little park ranger after we got done. That little sweet man was so sweet, and he was so proud of his park. And
Yeah.
I was telling him how beautiful it was, and he was just gushing over how much he loved that area
Yeah.
and why he was a park ranger and all that stuff. And he just reminded me of my papa, and he loved that so much. And I want to go out there, run that, and give that money to him so that
Yeah.
papa can keep that land up.
Exactly.
So
I
yeah.
mean, Brian asked the park ranger who's in charge of that. I think his name is Justin. What he would consider as a successful race, because they have to balance that between what Brian thinks is going to be a successful race and what the park wants. And he was like, I just want 100 families to come out and see my park. And that's how he phrased it, was my park. These people take ownership in this land because it is special. And that's what we're trying to help keep going.
There'll be 100 people out. 100
I
I
families
hope
out
so.
there.
I hope so. I
Yeah.
hope it just blows it out of the water.
question.
We'll
that.
crank. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah.
be. That's gonna be big.
Yeah, I really want that for Brian and for the park because he really likes that park.
And
he's
people will sense
everywhere.
that for Brian, because God knows Brian has helped a lot of people explore a lot of different areas of a lot of different parks that maybe they'd rather not have explored.
Brian tells the story of when we went on this adventure, and I was like, "Oh my God, I hate going on adventures with you because, like halfway through, I'm ready to go home, and there's still more to go. I'm done
Yep.
halfway through the adventure, and we've still got 12 more hours."
Well, Brian reached out to me the first time that I got to know Brian. I'll never forget. It was at Arca Butler Trails.
Oh yeah.
And he approached me and said that he was, if he could ever be of any service, he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
If he could go run with me at any time. And Brian doesn't have time to be running 15 and 16-minute miles when he's training for 100-mile races where he wants to be running 7 and 8. But he did, and he did it over and over and over again, and would do it right now if I called and asked.
I think he
and he
likes-
would do it for anybody.
Well, I think he likes to see other people make their goals.
Absolutely, he does.
It's kind of a family motto. Jesus, I didn't realize that, but yeah, we just kind of like to see people make their goals. I don't like to do the running bit. I will not train you, but Brian will. He will show up, and he will show up at your door when you don't want him to show up at your door,
Very
and
much so.
pray to God that he is not going to show up, but he will show up.
And he will.
And you better go outside with him. Otherwise, he's going to make it even more miserable. I mean,
Yep. Well, he's a special guy. You're
He
a
is.
special person, and your kids can't help
Yeah.
but to.
my
To
kids
take
are
all this in.
awesome.
Your
Yeah.
family, your whole family, you and your family are awesome.
And it has to feel nice for Adam to be Adam is revered in the
Adam
running
is-
Yeah.
community.
Among adults, I just think that's really cool. Brian, when he was growing up, he did a lot of karate and taekwondo, and so he got respect from the younger students that he mentored. And in a lot of ways, Adam's getting adult respect at a young age because he puts in the time and effort to be a better runner. And I just think that any child that can get that kind of respect wants to then get better and succeed.
And have
So-
all those outlets to go. You know, he'll have all those people that
Yeah.
are watching him and support him. And someday he'll need somebody that he
Yeah.
knows in the running community for whatever reason.
So
and
for
that will pay off.
So for our listeners, Adam's what, 14?
He's 13.
He's 13.
Yeah, and he's run 56 miles. This is his longest, and that was at this last year's Tour d'Esprit. And he's done a couple of half marathons, and he's a great runner, and he's got the little person in his head that says stop, but he can totally ignore it, and that is just that's a talent. Whoever can do that, man, I give you so much props for being able to do that. That for you to not stop for 100 miles and to make that man shut up or just deal with the person in your head saying stop, stop, stop. That's huge. That's an accomplishment.
Well, we've enjoyed having you here. I appreciate you taking the time to be on here.
Yes.
Not as
Thanks
much
for
as I
having
me.
appreciate what you do for.
Here's
thanks
to
for
you
having
and
me.
all the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having
sure.
me.
And everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Merry
and
Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy
Merry
holiday.
Christmas. Yay.
LHRL number 78 is in the books.
Bye-bye.